Some argue that the criteria for being a developed nation are determined by the level of per capita income. By this standard, South Korea would rank as more developed than Japan, and Taiwan would be on its way to surpassing Japan as well. However, while I acknowledge this perspective, I find it hard to believe that South Korea is more developed than Russia or Japan. During the era of the Soviet Union, Russia possessed a level of productive capacity second only to that of the United States, and perhaps it still does today. Yet, personal consumption has historically remained low. The reason for this lies in Russia's harsh natural environment, although global warming may have altered the situation somewhat in recent times. The Soviet Union was hailed as history's first socialist state. However, Russia was fundamentally a nation that prioritized massive investment in social infrastructure, aiming to maintain a minimum standard of living for its citizens while suppressing individual consumption. It was Trotsky who drove the Soviet Union's industrialization by adopting American-style Taylorism. Even when faced with general strikes by workers, he refused to raise wages. His reasoning was that increasing pay would be meaningless when there were no consumer goods available to buy. The book, The Soviet Union No One Wrote About, by Toshiko Suzuki, first published in 1970, touches upon this very point. The majority of the book describes the difficulty of obtaining food and daily necessities in the Soviet Union. Consequently, the book drew criticism from Soviet authorities upon its release, a controversy that was even reported on Japanese television news. However, the final two chapters, Gifts of Socialism and Scenes of Moscow, present a complete reversal of perspective. Education was free. Snow removal on major avenues was carried out by specialized machinery, operated by workers with golden hands. Snow loaded onto dump trucks was disposed of in pits heated by hot water pipes, preventing it from piling up into mountains. Yet, the book notes that the situation was far more arduous on narrow streets and back alleys, where snow removal required a massive, coordinated manual effort using shovels. This reality stems from the fact that the Soviet Union was a nation defined by a harsh natural environment, where temperatures could plummet to tens of degrees below zero. The fact that Japan is a country prone to earthquakes parallels the way foreigners visiting during the era of rapid economic growth described the system as socialism. I hear that Dr. Yellow, the Shinkansen inspection train, has recently been retired and replaced by a new model. However, I do not believe that such infrastructure improvements will dramatically boost overall personal consumption among the Japanese people. Since the Great East Japan earthquake, setting aside the Liberal Democratic Party's reactionary neoliberal administrations, I believe Japan has been moving in a generally correct direction by prioritizing infrastructure development. The primary reason people began speaking of Japan's decline is likely the arrival of an aging society. I do not think this issue can be resolved simply by expanding the production of consumer goods. In this context, I am paying close attention to the young political activists in the United States who support the Democratic Party and advocate for democratic socialism.